All right, we've just gone live and the attendees are filling in, so we'll give it just a minute for everyone to log in. And welcome to everyone. As you're coming in, the number just keeps rising, so I'm very excited that we have such a big audience. So thank you to everyone for taking your time to join us for today's webinar. My name is Laura Duncan, and I'm the Visitor Program Manager for the World Affairs Council of Kentucky and Southern Indiana. We're based in Louisville, and we are so proud and honored to have this webinar. Glad to have our panelists here. I'll introduce them in just a second. This webinar is also a part of the C by C Amplified Ideas Summit. This is a virtual summit that's featuring a lineup of really impressive speakers that's being organized by the World Affairs Councils of America Network. So there are councils all across the nation right now producing really incredible virtual webinars such as this one. And so you kind of have those to tap into for the rest of the week. And you can check them out at the letter CXC amplified.com, and I'll put that in the chat box. So we're very excited to also be live streaming this webinar. So just for the audiences to know that we are recording this, it's being live streamed, and you have the ability to ask questions during our Q&A section using the Q&A box. Feel free to type questions into the Q&A box starting as soon as you want to. You can add questions as we're going. You can add questions when we are in the Q&A portion. So to start today off, I'm going to introduce our 4 panelists, and I'm kind of going to just go in order by last names. So our first panelist of the day is Jared Bennett. Jared has been a reporter for the Kentucky Center for Investigative Reporting since late January. Before moving to Louisville, he worked at the Center for Public Integrity, a nonprofit news organization based in Washington, D.C. Bennett's reporting on business and technology has been recognized with awards from the Society of American Business Editors and Writers, the Excellence in Financial Journalism Awards, and as a finalist for the Gerald Leb Awards. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. He worked as a digital producer at WBUR in Boston before joining the Center's digital team in the summer of 2014. So thank you for joining us, Jared, our Louisville representative. And,
thanks for having me.
Yeah. So next we welcome Dora Kršl. I'm sorry, Dora, from Zagreb, Croatia. Dora is a Croatian journalist from telegram.hr portal. She's covering education, higher education, and science, as well as youth policies. In 2018, she visited Louisville, Kentucky through the IVLP program, which is the International Visitor Leadership Program of the U.S. Department of State. In 2018, she won 2 awards from Croatian Journalists Association for her investigative discoveries regarding malversations in education policy in Croatia. Dora loves her job and her sector because she deeply believes that good education is the most important thing for every society. Thank you for joining us, Dora.
Thank you for having me.
Next, we have Themi Samarsho. I'm sorry, Themi.
Oh, don't worry.
Journalist and editor of the Real Story program with News 24 TV in Toronto, Albania. Themi has worked as a journalist in print, broadcast media, print and broadcast media. In 2009, he won the European Young Journalist Award for Albania. He also works as an editor of one of the country's leading political talk shows, Real Story, which is a venue for discussion and debate of major developments in the country. Themi is interested in exploring the ethics of journalism and developing trends in countering the threat of misinformation. He also works as an editor of one of the... So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Laura.
Lastly, I'm excited to introduce Brendra Tiwari, editorial head of India's largest Naidunya Jagran media group. He has 15 years experience in the journalism field and has represented Indian media in China, Finland, Hong Kong, and the US. And our 3 international journalists all took part in the 2018 IVLP exchange program and visited Louisville, Kentucky. So we're excited to have the 3 of you back. And Brenda, thanks for joining us as well.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Tom. Thank you.
So to get the discussion started, I'm handing it over to all 4 of our panelists to give a introduction into their work, how it's being affected by COVID-19, and then when they've gone through, we will open it to the Q&A portion for our audience. So I started with Jared. Maybe Jared would want to begin?
Sure. I'll take it from here, I guess. So we've been covering coronavirus for my employer, the Kentucky Center for Investigative Reporting. We're also sort of attached to the WFPL newsroom, which is the public radio station here in Louisville. It's changed a ton of how we approach the job, and you know, as my bio said, I kind of started in late January here, so you know, a month of normalcy before all this started. So the transition wasn't too big of a deal for me because I wasn't quite set in my routine yet either, but we're working from home. We're moving a lot faster than we were in the on the investigative team previously, just because there's so much news and sort of to find the big investigative stories, we sort of felt like we had to be doing the smaller stories that come up once a week or you know, every few days, just so we know what's going on and then what we can do deeper dives into later. And then so that's a bit of a challenge, like I said, moving a lot faster than we're used to. I know my editor has a ton more coming at her every day. There's 4 other reporters on the investigative team besides me. And then, so working from home is different for everyone. It's a little bit different for us working for a radio station, which was something fairly new to me as well in general before all this, but you know, I've been recording in my bathroom to sort of buffer some sound. Actually in my bathroom under a blanket, a heavy comforter blanket. Still doesn't quite you know, work. If you listen carefully, you can hear lawnmowers and sometimes my dog outside the door, but it all adds personality. So yeah, I mean, now we're at a point where we're trying to figure out what sort of, where the big investigative stories are going to be and what we should focus on. What we were finding earlier is when we'd say, okay, this is the story we're going to do and focus on for the next week or even 2 weeks, when we tried to take those longer pieces, what we found is that the news would move so fast that by the time you finish or you're close to finish that story, the reality of it has changed so much, you know, that it sort of wasn't a story anymore. So now we think we're at a point where we can sort of settle down and look big picture. For me, I feel like that is going to be looking at the economic situation of it. Yep. How the state budget's impacted and how people who are on unemployment or who lost their jobs and, you know, or now on other forms of benefits, like how they're being impacted by all this sort of financially. Yeah, so that's the gist of it. Anything else I should add, or?
That's great. Thank you, Jared.
Yep.
Like I mentioned, we'll have plenty of time for questions and answering after everybody goes through. So if Dora would like to go next.
Well, I'll try to be short. We've started working from home at March 16, and from then we're still working from home, and we don't have any update on when we're returning to our newsroom. I I must admit that I'm tired of working from home because it's another dynamics when you work at your newsroom with your colleagues, when you can quickly share ideas or thoughts or whatever. Um, it's I find that this period with COVID-19 and working from home pretty exhausting, because I think that we're working, I don't know, maybe 50% more than we did, when this whole thing was, just a far scenario from China. Um, I depend on my sector, which is education and science, and I'm following what's going on there. And it's pretty much hectic. And now I should say it's hectic here in Croatia, but it's not true. It's hectic everywhere regarding, education, schools, faculties, universities. You have to cover how the things are going with online teaching, how the things are going with possibilities with coming back to school, which is now actually happening in Croatia from the next week. And it's pretty confusing, and from time to time hard to catch everything what's going on, especially here in Croatia, where we have a system which needs to reform, which is still kind of old-fashioned in some ways. So I'm trying to catch everything up. I think Timmy will tell you more about how the work is done now from the field when you're reporting, for TV, and which kinds of difficulties my colleagues are facing when they, go to press conferences, when they have to take statements and respect the distance from with the 2-meter rule and stuff like that. And I just want to add to something Jared was talking. I have a colleague here from one Zagreb radio station. She's also working from home, and she's recording her show from her closet. And she's sitting in her closet. She has this little chair, and she's covered with a blanket over over her head. So people are really managing to do their job in different kinds of ways. And I think it's challenging, but I think we're just swimming in this in ways that we can, and I think we're all we can't wait to get back to our newsrooms.
Thank you, Dora. I'm hearing a lot of people covering their heads with blankets, and I'm not a journalist, but I feel like I'm doing that sometimes. So Timmy, if you want to go next.
Yep, the idea is that at least my two colleagues working from home, but looking at I'm the editor of a program which, well, the program has in DNA the debate. We couldn't have more than two people in the studio because of the situation and everything else. So this was a very challenging thing, because you need to have live connection with other people. You need to use Skype, to use Zoom. So it was, let's say, the most biggest problem for us when you are the editor of a program on the ground, because Dora mentioned that the ground is, I don't know, it's a war. I think that no one of us has covered a war. So this is our war that we have to cover. So I feel like really I feel like I'm covering the war. Uh, it's totally different. It's totally strange. Sometimes you don't understand nothing, and you have to be in front of something that you couldn't see, because if you are in a war with gun, you take something and you protect yourself. But in this war, you are, I don't know, always in difficulty. So the main challenge, and I think that after this, the world of journalism, also the world will change, because we see that for a month the newspaper, the print was closed, and I think this will be the end of the print here in Albania. But that looking at the situation is pretty good comparing to other country. We have 810 cases a day, but let's say 68% of them they are okay now. We have 31 dead, but I hope that this finish very soon. I have been in hospital. I'm working, and I have to broadcast tonight a story inside the hospital, speaking with the people, speaking with the doctor, which are the front line, and the people which are fighting with this virus. I don't know. Really, it's something that you can find a word. Even you are a journalist, you are doing your job. Your job is speaking and find the word. In this situation, it's very difficult to find the word to describe everything you see, everything you feel, how the people in hospital feeling, how the doctor crying because they have more than 2 months that they don't see their family, member of the family. I met a doctor that she has a daughter, 9 months old, and she doesn't meet her for 2 months. So these are the small things that make you feel, even you have to be cold like a journalist. These are the small things that you have to be human. So I'm trying to be a journalist, but at the same time, I'm trying to have a feeling like normal people. Try not crying, but feel bad. So, but this is at the end. This is our job, and we have to cover this war because one doctor that we had in studio, he said that we will be always record like the generation of coronavirus. So we will all be always like the coronavirus generation. Do you have any question?
We do have questions piling in through the Q&A box, but we're gonna wait for Q&A until after Virendra goes through.
Just one small thing. If I have to leave, I hope you can understand me. I will try to come back because I'm working. As I told you, I'm working on the story. So don't see that I will not come back. But I will come back. But I have to go to run to finish the story. If it's not a problem.
Thank you, Themi. And I shared.
You can share the promo for tonight. So that's the promo.
I've shared a link to the YouTube on the Zoom webinar chat, so everyone should have access to be able to watch that.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Themi. All right. If you're finished, then we'll let Virendra talk real quick, and then we'll switch over to the Q&A portion.
Thank you for joining us. Before pointing out the challenges and the working style of journalism in pandemic, let me highlight the current situation of India. Today till the morning, India have 40,000 plus active cases and almost 1,500 deaths. Around 10,000 cases have also been recovered so far, and this is a good sign for a huge country like India. We stand 16th in the world in comparison with the active cases. Only 5 small states safe and having 0 cases in India. And we are trying to, break the chain of COVID-19. As we all know, India has a population of 1.3 billion, and it's the most populous country after China. So when we talk about Indian context, the biggest challenge is to implement any rules and guidelines. Still, we have 45 days countrywide lockdown, and the 3rd phase of lockdown has started from today itself. We are having some relief, but not much. And everything was closed for a month: April, factory, office, bank, public transport, everything. Now, despite increase of cases in current week, some relief is being given to the people, grocery shops, vegetables, and other items. of need are being delivered to home. All the districts have been categorized in 3 zones: red, orange, and green. Permission of the opening of the shops depend on the zone. So this is the picture of India. Let come to the subject. Indian journalists are currently fighting in 2 fronts. I think we were talking earlier in this webinar. Job security, and second, field reporting from Corona hotspot with low security resources. Journalists don't have PP kits, they don't have proper equipment as well. Visual journalists risking their lives for taking good clicks and exclusive footage. We do have number of media houses where Corona virus have started presence. Many editions of virus dailies have found number of positive reporters, DAX editors, they along with their colleagues have been quarantined. My states have reported some deaths of positive journalists as well. Government have insured 5 billion INR for insurance 5 billion INR for coronavirus. Unfortunately, media person category is not in that list. So journalists get covered from media houses or health insurance, but not all. So this is the basic challenges. Only a third of staff is able to do work from office. There are some technical problem and some nature of work which force media person to work from office. We are working in the office by applying face masks. We are carrying sanitizer bottle. Our work kitchens are being sanitized every day. Our sitting arrangement has been changed so that we can maintain safe physical distance. We have shifted to morning. We have shifted morning editorial meeting to Zoom. Now, half of the reporting staff had to come to office in the evening only to submit their stories. Reporters of some less important beats are also allowed to work from home. But yes, it is also true that due to Corona positive case in media colleagues, the rest of the staff is scared and they are working in tense position. The second, biggest challenge is a matter of concern about media personnel job security. India have almost 1,000 registered newspapers, media houses. The main source of survival of these media houses is mainly commercial and government advertisement. Due to the ongoing countrywide lockdown, all advertisement has been stopped by business outside and the government as well. So Indian media houses were already in crisis due to loss earning and high expenses. The Corona epidemic has brought many media institutions into knees. To keep themselves alive, many media houses have released a list of layoffs. At the same time, many have reduced the salary of 50%. One of famous media houses in my area have shut all their bureau offices down. They are saving office expenses so that they can survive recession after this pandemic. This is a biggest challenge, and one more biggest challenge is I can just say this thing. The fake news related with COVID-19 is biggest problem here. India have a largest user base of social media like WhatsApp and Facebook. Almost free data has always been a challenge for us. People get unverified information on WhatsApp and they start forwarding to the gross media houses as well as government agencies, working hard to fact checking and removing such misinformation for that from that platform. Fake news is creating panic in societies. It is also playing a role to create hate between the communities. Fake messages like particular communities, vegetable sellers spreading COVID virus is really a matter of concern for nowadays for us. There are a number of fake and morph video, photo, and other messages, which is a real hurdle in the path of combat to COVID-19. There was a number of attacking cases to the doctor just because of fake information. As media house, we are also facing other kind of problem. There were fake message that newspaper can be a carrier of COVID virus. After that rumors, many users have unsubscribed our newspaper. Some of the residential society is not allowing the newspaper vendor to enter their society and deliver the newspaper. So it's really a very hard time for news media houses and journalists. There are 51 districts in my states where I live, but the reporters or other field staff is unable to go to another districts for reporting. because district magistrate are not allowing this happen. Due to restriction, district and state borders are being locked down, and and we are facing problem in transporting as well. Our news vehicles have been given transportation pass by government, but smooth transportation is not taking place. So the circulation of the newspaper of house being banned by the government of Maharashtra is also the case is there. So we are really in a hard time. One side we are facing problem news gathering, and the second time we are facing problem to distribute our newspaper.
Thank you, Virendra, for sharing. So we've actually got quite a few questions that have come through, and so this is going to be open to all of you to answer. To the audience, I'm going to try to get to as many questions as I can, but it might not be possible to get to all of them, so bear with me. One of the first questions that we got related to journalism is the challenges that all of you are facing in regards to gaining accurate and reliable information or data from your sources for stories related to COVID-19. Are you seeing challenges with that?
Should we just jump in and?
Yeah, go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different, it makes getting access, especially to public officials, harder in a bunch of different ways. I mean, so as an investigative news outlet, like one of the main tools of our the business that we use every day is the in Kentucky, it's the Kentucky Open Records Act, and you submit a request and for documents or and state agencies, under most circumstances will comply. And one thing with less, fewer staff in state offices, those requests are taking a lot longer to be fulfilled, or being denied because it's too much of a burden. And so then we have to go, there's a back and forth to try to get something out of that. That's one aspect. And then also we've reported some stories of like the city of Louisville, for example, denying records requests to see what they've been spending money on during this crisis, and where those contracts are going and where the money's going. They denied that because, short on staff, and just said it would be, the city's got other things on its plate right now, which is true, but, access to information is always important. And so that's the records request angle, but then there's also like getting access to, the way information is being distributed here in Kentucky is that the governor will have a press conference daily. And, we can't often send somebody there to be there because, well, first, we're a little bit a ways away from the state capitol, not too far, but far enough. And then, we're social distancing. I think people are discouraged from, cramming into a small press office, so we submit questions online, and then it's sort of, you hope you get an answer, but you're not in the room to sort of push back or ask follow-up questions. So that makes, getting very specific information a lot tougher, because just that sort of funneling of the main information source is the governor at his press briefings. So if you're not watching that, you'll probably miss something. There's an also sort of maybe on the, I guess, petty side of a journalist of like when you're working on something for days and then you ask the governor for it and then they, announce it to every newspaper in the state. Not ideal way to get information. And then the last one is just that, getting access to sort of, especially state officials and public officials, you know, cabinet secretaries or undersecretaries, people who are in regulatory positions, is pretty much impossible. One, they're very busy and dealing with like immediate emergencies, which, yeah, I think makes a lot of sense. But then also there's just, you know, the stance right now is like information comes from the governor and the governor's office. So you're all sort of, you know, if you're trying to get information about how, for example, when I was trying to get information about how the state was handling cases in nursing homes, you know, I would first try to talk to that official directly, and then be told to go through the governor, who's, you know, first of all, just doesn't have the same, you know, detailed knowledge that this other person does. So it's hard to get, you know, really actionable knowledge, I think, in a lot of circumstances.
Do any of the other panelists want to add to that question? Okay, we will move on to next questions. We have one from Skylar. What are some of the ethical problems arising within journalism that's unique to the current situation?
May I go?
Yeah, please.
As I mentioned, that the other situation and other problem, you know, in front of journalists is you know, job security in India right now. Actually, there is a lot of things you know, going on internet or in media, that the recession, the biggest recession after 2008 is very near, and Indian media houses already in a poor condition, poor on the financial condition. So they are started, you know, cutting off their employees' salaries and all. So just to hold the job is the biggest, you know, challenges right now. I don't know what is the situation after one and a half month or after 2 months. If things will not go like in a planned manner, you know, economy do not boom, then it will be really a big concern for media industry in India. So it's really a biggest challenge for nowadays for us.
I think another on the ethical side is like doing field reporting with like a highly contagious virus. You know, we've been doing most of our reporting over the phone just to not expose people, but there are obviously some circumstances where you can't do that. And our reporters have figured out how to, like, you know, you put a microphone on a 6-foot pole and stay, you know, safe distance and make sure everyone's wearing masks. But I mean, I still feel like that is always a sort of balance to strike of getting information out there, and risking exposure of the reporter or exposure of people you're talking to.
Okay, and we do have questions coming in, and I did want to mention to the audience, we do actually have another method of asking questions, which would be to raise your hand, and then I can call on you if you would prefer to verbally ask your question. So if you want to ask a verbal question, you can open the participant list, and I think, or you can click raise your hand. I'm not sure, it looks different to me than it does to you. But for our next question, we have in the chat from Troy, With so many bureau offices shut down worldwide, how will journalists overcome the added challenges of gaining access to political and economic leaders in order to keep people informed with real news? And
Yeah,
that's open.
this is really a big challenge, and nowadays, people or our leaders or officers are avoiding to a personal meeting. So it's really hard to access the real for information over phone without meeting people, someone. It's, the quality of the quality of information is not that much good if you are not meeting the people here in India, and all offices are already closed, so we are not having RTI or RTI Act. We are not having any information from other sources who are in our who are working in that office. So really it's very challenging for us to gathering information or making a news. So all the newspaper is have been centric on particular COVID-19 news. You can have, I think, 8 to 9 news in every pages related with directly or indirectly related with COVID-19. So yeah, it's a very big task for us to gather information.
All right. Another question we received is from Janet. Given that some say we will not be back to normal until there is a COVID-19 vaccine, and that now there is some suggestion that the data is being commingled between pneumonia, flu, COVID-19, why is there not more public encouragement for voluntary immunization for guidance for pneumonia and flu? Do you think there is going to be a public rejection of a COVID-19 immunization as there has been for not getting the flu vaccine? That's open to any of our panelists.
Can I just jump in? Well, regarding a lot of fake news around COVID-19 and everything what's going on around it. I think there should be problems with not just preliminary vaccination, but with the regular one when it comes to when it comes to that. So I think we should write and tell about stories from scientists, from scientific facts about the virus and the vaccine, and to try to explain to the public what are difficulties or troubles about I don't know if you are vaccinated or if you're not, or what does it mean if you're younger and you don't get vaccinated, or what does it mean for an older person to get or not to get vaccinated. So I think we should all look up to science right now, scientific facts, and try to debunk all those fake things going around about vaccination and all crazy stuff about COVID-19 and I don't know 5G thing, and simply to not to ignore those fake news things, but simply to debunk them and to maybe mock them or whatever, but to clearly state that this is not true and that it's not scientifically, that it doesn't have scientific grounds.
Does anybody else want to jump in on that question? Okay, we'll move on. We have a question from Michelle. How do you respect patients' privacy while reporting on a pandemic where the public has a need to know where the cases are?
In India, we are not publishing, patient name. We are maintaining the privacy here in India, unless they themselves declare positive on social media and all. We are not publishing because it's create panic in the society. It's create hates against that particular person or the family. So we are maintaining fully privacy here in India. I don't know other countries what are the guideline. There's a guideline in India as well that we cannot publish a patient name.
And I'm not sure if Thimi had to step away or not, but I know that he's been covering actually going into medical centers to do some coverage. So that question could be directed at him if he's able to jump in a little bit later as well. We had another question, which is speaking, as Virendra was speaking of misinformation and mass spreading of it through social media, how can we, as the audience, as everyday people, help combat this and bring people towards the factual researched journalism?
Just only single formula. Just don't believe what you get from social media like WhatsApp, Facebook, and where their source. Just there's lots of website there who they checking facts and they are publishing the real stories behind that particular message. So before forwarding any news item or any forwarded message, just go to that particular website and cross-check the information. So it will help to spread that misinformation. We have number of media houses in India. We have agencies who are fact checking the things which is viral on Facebook or which is viral on WhatsApp, and they are giving the real information and they are giving the real motives behind that particular message which was spread.
I'll just add something. I think I'm glad that this topic is addressed here, because I think here's the key question about media literacy and my field of covering education. So I think it's really important now to every time, but now especially to look what's the source of what you're reading or what you're watching or what you're hearing, and you should be able to find out if this source is reliable. Is it does it have okay participants in the text or whatever. So if you see something that you cannot check at some other point, or if you see something that you're, I don't know, sure that, and about this guy or someone from the article that it's, well-informed scientist or your colleague or something like that. So, that it's something okay, but you should, check the source of the information and not, consume news from Facebook or Twitter like it's written in the Bible, with golden letters. So we should always check, and I think social media are not helping, and it's like it's problematic for me to talk about social media regarding COVID-19 because one point they are helping, to spread all those fake news, misinformation, and stuff like that. But on the other hand, they are useful to share, reliable topics and stuff we do in our job. So yeah, you should always check what you're reading and from whom you're reading it.
I'm back. Sorry, I have to use the mask because I have, when I go around the office, I have to use the mask. So that's why the measure that I have to keep.
Good.
Welcome back, Thimi. We actually just got a question addressed to Thimi and Dora from Adriano. What is the situation in ex-communist countries with the isolation, and how are the people perceiving it? Does the media feel more oppressed than usual now that the oppression of the freedoms seems to be the new norm in the name of the greater good, of course?
Listen, can I, Dora?
Yes.
Okay, I will start. The idea is that, okay, like ex-communism country, many old people remember the time that they couldn't leave the country. So, but I think the measure was okay. We need this kind of measure because from the situation, of course, we have from these things, after I have speak with many doctors, from this lockdown, we have win this battle, if we can call it win until now. But I think, okay, there are a lot of people that doesn't agree with these measures from the government, doesn't agree with the lockdown. But even us, the journalists, we are trying to show them the truth from the word of the people who passed COVID-19. So with their voice, speaking about what this virus bring to the people, we are trying to tell to the other people who doesn't agree with all the rules that the best thing is to stay home and to keep a distance and to respect the rule. Even you don't agree with the government, even you vote against the government, these kind of rules are for everyone. First are for their safe, not for the government. Even regarding the information, we have a problem here that, like I think many countries has it, the information is closed in only one hand. So it's only the prime minister or the minister of health, the one who gives the information for the number of the people, the new infected, the dead. So we don't have the access to have a second source to confirm these numbers. But I think this is not only in Albania, it's in many countries. So you can't confirm. You don't have a second source in this kind of war. So you have to trust with all the objection what they say. That was.
I'll add to Pimi. Yeah, it's really an interesting question because here in Croatia, the officials, are saying that citizens here are really good at listening to all those measures about staying at home and stuff like that. And I just heard the other day that from one of the health officials, I think, that it was because we have this legacy from the past system regarding, obeying the authorities. So I don't know what to say about that because I was born in 1990 when this whole thing, flashed. So I don't know what to say about that, but I think as I'm watching what my colleagues are facing on the ground and on those everyday, conferences, government is always trying to look good, and they're always presenting stuff like they're handling it, that they have everything under control and stuff like that. But you know, we talk to our sources, we talk to people, you know, from all over the country, and you just have to ask about those things, and they're not, you know, they don't hear those questions gladly, and they don't answer them gladly, and but you know, that's the core of our job, to ask questions in the name of public, even though if they're not, you know, good to hear for the government or health officials or something like that. So yeah, this oppression of which Adriano is speaking, I think everyone in journalism is feeling this kind of, you know, that you don't have a possibility to do your job as you could when there wasn't, you know, COVID-19 pandemic. But you should always, you know, if officials are saying one thing and you have another source that's claiming something completely different, you have to search for another source that's saying, or the things that the government is saying, or the thing that your first source is saying. So I think, you know, we're like at home, we have our, well, we don't have our hands, you know, behind our back, but I feel like my one hand is missing while working like this, and but you know, we all should work harder during this period, and it's because of the public interest.
Thank you, guys. I think some of your answers also kind of go into this next question we had from Troy. In my government, global politics, and Model UN class, I guess classes, my students are asking what they can do to keep officials from, quote, sanitizing the data and keeping the general public in the dark on more than just COVID-19 issues. Some have connected to dots to a potential rise in authoritarian rule, using the pandemic as an excuse without the pushback from the press and the public. And this is open to all of our panelists.
I can take a first attempt. You know, I think the extreme version of like all these restrictions are authoritarian and are enabling those sort of you know, tendencies of government. Like Timi said, that's for the most part, most people here at least see these restrictions as sort of for our own good, and they're not, you know, realizing the difference. There is a pretty vocal minority that gets a lot of attention of people who really are, you know, consider these measures a step too far. And like in Kentucky, there are protests at the state capitol on Saturday that they get a lot of attention, and people saying, you know, these are accusing business closures and things like that as like authoritarianism. That's I mean, I think that's a huge minority and a vocal minority that like puts itself out there. So it naturally gets a lot of attention. But I do think like there is a sort of, you know, this is something we talk about as journalists in our newsroom, well, not in our newsroom anymore, but, you know, amongst ourselves, like of these moves that, you know, restricting information or like, I think that's the big one that we see where it's like, but it's, you know, maybe public officials are realizing like, oh, you don't have to answer every journalist's question out there. And I mean, I don't really know, you know, I can only speak as like a reporter journalists, the only thing you can do is keep pressing and keep asking. I think at least, especially in the beginning, there was a lot of discussion and about this sort of natural, as a journalist, my hope is that as a journalist, your attitude is like, you're not working with the government, right? You're on different sides of the table. But when you have a global, a crisis like this, your job sort of shifts a little bit to be like, okay, we're helping you get information out that is necessary, that people need, and so your relationship to the authority changes a little bit, and being vigilant about that, I think, is important. But I also, just knowing the attitude of people who go into journalism, like most people are pretty good about keeping that healthy distance, but it's like, but then as far as the public just noticing things and being vocal about them now, I think is all you can really do, like let public officials know. I mean, especially, at least in Kentucky, the sense is that they're still pretty responsive to valid criticism.
Thanks, Jared. Did any of the other participants want to add to that? Okay, otherwise, we have time for one final question, and I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but we have a question from Marty. Will the world ever be the same? And if not, what are the major changes that we will face?
I think without herd immunity or without mass vaccination, I don't think so that things will be as simple as it was earlier. Forget about the pubs, forget about the live concert, because there will be some tense situation, because there will be doubt in your mind that when we were going in a crowded place, we will think that maybe there could be a virus. So I don't think so without proper vaccination and without removing a single cases from this world, it will be as as good as it was earlier.
Any other answers?
I don't really know. I mean, I think, yeah, without a vaccine, it's hard to see, going back to completely normal. And then I also just think that there's been a lot of changes in society that happened really quickly that, like, I wonder how many are here to stay and how many will have lasting impacts on society. Like I said at the beginning, I've been sort of focusing myself on the economic side of things. And, like, for example, the government is now extended unemployment benefits to a whole new group of people that were never eligible before. And, I think that's things like that, or the government has halted evictions, policies like that even if the virus goes away, like, when it does, when we get a vaccine or something, these policy changes, I think a lot of them are, hard to see rolling back the clock on completely when we've sort of said, oh, well, we made this change and it turned out to be a great thing, or it didn't work at all and it was terrible, and then a lot of people have made some gains now that, like, they're not going to want to give up again. A real specific small example of that is, like, now restaurants can sell alcohol to go, and that's something they've been fighting for years. And so now, are they going to want to give that up again? I don't know, but it'll be really interesting to see how, like, those responses, not just talking about the big thing, which is the virus, but then the changes we made in response to that, how many of those are like stick around for good or have lasting effects?
All right, and we are now at a minute after 1 o'clock, so I think we got the timing down pretty well. We're only a minute past. I want to let the audience know if I didn't get to your question or you have something burning that you want to ask, feel free to email it to us and we can pass it on to our panelists, and if they're able and willing, maybe able to answer a question. I'm not sure. I'm kind of just offering that. I shouldn't have done that. But we'll do our best to keep everyone connected through these virtual exchanges. We do have another webinar on May 19th. And if you follow worldkentucky.org, you'll see that we're going to have a panel on social distancing and how the courts are reacting to that. So I just want to take this time to first say thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Virendra, Dora, Jared, Thimi, so much for taking the time to come together and talk about these challenges and answer questions that our audience has. So thank you so much. And I also want to thank our audience for attending, asking great questions. And just a reminder that this is a C/C amplified event. So I'm going to drop the link to the website, but all week there will be virtual webinars and activities for you to take part of. And so we thank you for attending, for your support of your local World Affairs Council. And if the panelists have any last goodbye or thank you or.
Thank you
WAC.
Thank you WAC for this wonderful webinar.
Even
Awesome.
I was running. Thank you very much. I appreciate so much the fact that you put us all together, and really it's very nice to be again in Louisville, but in this kind of way, and we hope to meet again in Louisville and have.
Yeah, definitely. It's our dream. This is our dream.
Glad to make your dreams come true.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, thank you everyone, and please take care, stay safe, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you all on our future webinars. Yep. And in Louisville.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Namaste.